participants, so that's fantastic. So good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber's annual real estate event. I almost called it a breakfast. I apologize. But if you're enjoying breakfast, it can be your breakfast. So my name is Joe Bauman. I'm the president of the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber. So on behalf of our staff and our board of directors and our ambassadors, I want to welcome you to this morning's program. Before we get started, I do want to introduce the chamber staff, affectionately known as Team 130. So Cheryl Geralds is our operations manager. Cheryl, give away.
Morning.
And Kelly Bennett is our events and marketing manager, Kelly. So
Good morning, everyone.
all of you probably interacted with either Kelly or Cheryl at some point to join us this morning. So thank you. For those of you who may not be intimately knowledgeable of the chamber, we typically are a staff of 4. Since September, we've been a staff of 3 when we lost our membership engagement manager, Samantha Michalak. We're in the process of replacing Sam right now. So hopefully sooner than later, we'll have a new membership person who will be available to all of you to make sure that you're maximizing your benefits as a chamber member. We have a small staff, but we have many members. Pre-pandemic, we are right around 700 member businesses that we represented in the communities of Birmingham, Bloomfield Hills, Bloomfield Township, Bingham Farms, Beverly Hills, and Franklin Village. We could not do what we do without a dedicated group of volunteers, which are led by our board of directors and our ambassadors. So if you are a board member or if you are a chamber ambassador, please wave and be acknowledged for all of your efforts. Thank you all so much. Similarly, we wouldn't be able to do the level and quality of programming that we do without our sponsors. This past year, more than ever, our sponsors played a critical role in, frankly, keeping the chamber financially solvent. As I'm sure all of you are aware, we have not been allowed to have an in-person event or fundraiser since last March. We lost our 2 largest fundraisers, which is the Village Fair, which typically happens the week after Memorial Day, and then our Vine and Dine event, which I know many of you seeing who's on this call has been on there. We're hoping to return both of those programs in 2021, but the financial support that we received from our sponsors was really critically important to keep our staff intact and to keep the office open, frankly. So we couldn't have done it without our sponsors. And that's including the sponsors of today's program and also our forecast series. Our sponsors for this morning are led by our diamond sponsor, Clark Hill, our platinum sponsor, Bank of Ann Arbor, our gold sponsors, Fenner, Melstrom and Dooling, Comcast Business and Mercantile Bank, and our silver sponsors, the Birmingham Shopping District, Hall and Hunter Realtors, Dada Mann, and Consumers Energy. So if you are representing one of those companies, give a wave and receive our thanks for helping support this morning's program. And then lastly, I do want to acknowledge our legacy sponsors. And our legacy sponsors are a handful of our chamber member businesses that agree to make a significant financial contribution to the chamber on an annual basis to help support many of the no-cost and low-cost programs that we do in a normal world. So our after-hours mixers, our member coffees, our Professional Edge professional development series, our Chamber 411 series. They do this because as leaders in not only their industry, but leaders in our member communities, they want to be able to give back and to help our smaller members receive the kinds of services that otherwise they may not be able to afford. And we are eternally grateful for our legacy sponsors for 2021, which include Clark Hill, Bank of Ann Arbor, Chief Financial Credit Union, the Birmingham Bloomfield Credit Union, and North America Midway Entertainment. So thank you all for your support. Speaking of sponsors, at this point this morning, I do want to turn over the box, I guess. I don't really know what it is, but it always reminds me of how, Hollywood Square. So Mike Sherman is with Comcast Business, one of our sponsors for this morning's program. And Mike is going to kick us off by introducing our moderator for this morning. Before, Mike, you start, though, I do want to mention that we are going to leave time at the end for Q&A. We're going to ask everybody to please stay on mute so we cut down on background noise. If you do have a question for one of our panelists, please type that question into the chat box. Our moderator is going to be monitoring the chat box, and we will ask your question for you on your behalf. So with that, let's get started with Mike Sherman, Comcast Business.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate it. Good morning, everybody. I can't wait for the time where we can look each other face to face and fist bump or shake hands. With nice weather, I'm really starting to feel that. And I don't want to sit here. I've got like 30 seconds to bore you about Comcast Business. Everyone knows Comcast. But what I will remind you is that we also have a referral program. So if you know a business that is moving or expanding, or maybe they're unhappy with who they have today, you can refer those businesses and we will pay you, pay you for those, or knock it off your current Comcast invoice. So thanks for that. And what I'd like to do is introduce Kevin Fanning. Okay. He's from Clark Hill, and his practice focuses on complex commercial litigation matters, real estate litigation, commercial property workouts and receiverships, and securities litigation. Kevin also handles all aspects of litigation for various transportation and logistics companies involving the defense of serious accidents, freight claims, unemployment matters or employment matters, insurance and indemnity issues, and related litigation. He also assists these companies to proactively hedge litigation risks through contractual and other means. At this time, I'd like to ask Kevin to kick off our 2020 real estate forecast breakfast. Kevin?
Thank you very much, Mike. It's a pleasure to be here and to moderate this morning's program, even though we would all much prefer having a cup of coffee together. Unfortunately, this is what we're dealing with. So I just want to go ahead and introduce this morning's speaker, Ellen Mahoney. Ellen has an extensive background in the commercial real estate arena. She's worked many years as a commercial real estate paralegal for several prominent law firms in Detroit, and spent 4 of those years working for a major developer of a resort community in which she oversaw the brokerage along with sales and acquisitions. Ellen subsequently started a residential mortgage brokerage business and spent several years developing the commercial division for a Birmingham title company. In April 2016, Ellen opened the first and only exclusive commercial brokerage for RE/MAX's southeastern Michigan region. RE/MAX Commercial Connection is a boutique office that is strictly focused on advising and representing clients in the sale, acquisition, development, and leasing of commercial properties. Ellen currently serves on the advisory board as an advisory board member for Life Remodel Detroit. She's a member of the Business Pioneers BBChamber referral group and previously served as an ambassador, assisting with nominations, public policy, and economic development and membership committees for the Birmingham Bloomfield Chamber of Commerce. Ellen, I turn it over to you.
Okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. I am going to proceed to share my screen for a PowerPoint presentation. So if you'll bear with me. He had it up. So can everybody see my screen?
No, we can't.
Oh, okay. Isn't that interesting how it worked earlier? Is that good?
There we go.
Okay, good. So I am really excited to be here to help guide everybody through a discussion regarding the various commercial real estate markets and how they've been impacted when they were suddenly hit with this pandemic almost exactly a year ago today. I plan to take you through a summary of 2021 or 2020. My goal is that you walk with a clearer understanding of what 2021 will look like moving forward. So why was this pandemic so different? The Great Recession was a result of the banks failing. And when this happened, there was no liquidity in the market. Consequently, lenders weren't lending. But during the pandemic, the financial markets have remained strong. The biggest factor has been the lack of predictability. There's no doubt that the financial markets remain strong and lenders are continuing to lend with the support of capital, and transactions are still being completed. In the early days of the pandemic, deals that were under contract earlier were terminated or retraded for much less than the original agreed to price. Sometimes those adjusted prices were discounted as much as 20%. In terms of the business climate, in order to survive, businesses have needed to change their delivery methods. And some examples of this are restaurants moving to carry out and curbside service, retailers having to use mostly social media and e-commerce methods to sell products, and offices moving completely to telecommuting. I'm going to talk about what we have seen over the past year in terms of the commercial markets in these 4 primary categories. And I'm purposely avoiding specific statistics and data, as I don't think they are as helpful in terms of predicting where our commercial markets are headed in 2021. I encourage you to reach out to my office for any specific details, and our contact information is provided at the end of this presentation. So during the pandemic, we've seen more property for lease every day. We also have seen fewer leasing deals being completed. The negative impact will continue to affect the sale of office buildings, and as I'm sure you are aware, the two go hand in hand. Since the pandemic, subleases are up over 51%. And this is important since this is a sign that tenants are not comfortable in their current situations with their leases and may be looking for exit strategies. Companies will continue strategizing on what their space needs are moving forward, especially considering that many employees are adjusting to working from homes. So that's going to be a necessary accommodation. Especially considering it's likely that many offices will be adopting more of a hybrid approach to space. And as a result, we may see a decline of as much as 40%, but hopefully not of net loss in space. Birmingham has continued to show its resilience by managing to maintain approximately 80 to 90% occupancy during the pandemic. That doesn't mean people are in these offices, but that means the landlord is still getting their rent. The travel ban was the first line of defense for preventing the further spread of COVID-19. This hit the hotel industry particularly hard, and it's still being impacted. Since tourism is so closely tied to shopping, eating, and lodging, there's likely to be more fallout in terms of the impact on malls and smaller retailers. During this pandemic, we've seen retail space for sale and lease flood the markets. We have also seen 20 national retailers filing for bankruptcy. And when shopping centers and malls lose their anchor tenants, it creates a strain on the smaller retailers that depend on the drive that traffic is encouraged by anchors into the shopping center. Obviously, this will also depress pricing. Fortunately, during the early stages of the pandemic, the government moved swiftly to provide relief, primarily to support the impending loss of many jobs through the Paycheck Protection Program, or PPP, and extended unemployment benefits. This provided the needed support for employers to continue paying workers, and for those that did become unemployed, receiving stronger unemployment benefits. This support kept the collection of rents high and default rates low. Demand by investors to purchase multifamily assets was strong, and it continues to be strong. Unfortunately, there's a lack of inventory. During 2020, refinancing products through Freddie Mac and HUD were made available to owners with very attractive financing terms. Some of the underwriting even provided provisions to assist landlords so they might support potential defaults and the inability to pursue evictions during the pandemic. There's currently a federal moratorium on evictions, which was imposed early on by the Centers for Disease Control since it was about early March. But just last week, a federal court has ruled that the moratoriums imposed by the CDC were unconstitutional. Regardless of when the moratoriums are lifted, rents are not going to be forgiven as far as we know. And this is an indication that there will be future defaults since most renters are not going to have the ability to pay the accrued past rent. E-commerce is and will continue to thrive, so demand will remain strong in the industrial sector. We have seen failure in our supply chains during this pandemic. Our supply chains need to be supported, which has led to more distribution centers being planned in urban centers, and that includes Detroit. Prior to the pandemic, medical use of marijuana was adopted by most municipalities throughout Michigan, and during this pandemic has broadened for supporting the recreational industry. Use has grown, and there is a lot of demand for industrial warehouses in order to license them for growing and processing to meet local demand. Sales activity is stronger in our industrial markets than any other commercial asset class, and investment deals are being done, also encouraging developers to develop further business parks. Expectations for 2021 are that office will continue to struggle due to lower occupancy. Designers are very busy right now reconfiguring spacing needs, and eventually rent rates will be falling and there will be distressed sales. Retail also continues to struggle, but new restaurants and pharmacies are already starting to emerge with strictly drive-through or carry-out delivery services. Plans for the redevelopment of malls has already been occurring, and there are discussions about how to retrofit them. The most notable approach would be to transform the anchor spaces into hotels, senior living, other types of multifamily, medical, and office. The goal would be to help sustain the smaller retail tenants in the malls and shopping centers while also meeting the demand for needed housing. With the cost of construction and materials so high right now, the plans are to try salvaging as much of the structures as is feasible. I do want to spend some time discussing the Birmingham retail market since it's our largest downtown area in the chamber. Activity has remained strong and there are no expectations that this will change. The community was able to pivot well, attributable in part to the immediate support of the principal shopping district in partnership with city officials, administration, and of course our chamber. I understand that the Bougie Group has already purchased Linda Dresner's space, which closed on March 1st, and there are already plans for 2 national retailers to lease that space. These are just some examples of some of the new businesses coming to our market. And there's no expectation that we will continue to see our market remain strong. And I just wanted to recognize some of these new businesses and also welcome the Daxton Boutique Hotel, which I'm confident will be hugely successful. The Detroit market is at the epicenter of our region's prosperity. I plan to provide you with examples of projects already underway to help illustrate the degree to which developers have confidence in the future of our commercial real estate markets. Construction activity is strong, but not without its challenges. And most of the large developments include opportunities for office, retail, hospitality, with a primary focus on housing. There are a projected 4,000 new apartment units planned to come online within the next few years. In addition to challenges with construction costs, there are other hurdles. John Holtzman, a veteran developer of multifamily, was recently quoted as saying, "Detroit continues to produce fewer new apartments than the market demands. There are challenges to bring communities to market quickly: construction costs, construction lending, zoning, site plan approval, the speed of getting things approved, and a labor shortage. But with that said, the demand continues to be extremely strong. And Holtzman is the developer of City Club Apartments, which currently has 2 projects, one that recently went online in Capitol Park and is open for occupancy, and another one planned for Midtown. So financing debt in Detroit is a critical component to our process of development. The capital stack assists developers with financing and grants that allows potential protection against risk. As you can imagine, that has been even more critical during COVID, but they're still happening. This example illustrates a potential capital stack for typical mixed-use projects. The city is requiring that most projects include a minimum of 20% of affordable rent. So essentially, you could have senior debt, secondary debt, primarily through Invest Detroit or PACE equity in the city, tax credits, lower income tax credits or LIHTC for the affordability component, developer equity, and even recently seeing more joint venture and ground lease options that are being explored and utilized. This is the Hudson site, which is the largest development project to break ground to date in the Central Business District. The Bedrock project includes office, retail, hospitality, and approximately 250 housing units. Sugar Hill is a project that is $37 million that will serve to transform an acre of vacant space into 68 new mixed income apartments, 11,000 feet of commercial space, and 25% of housing units are designated as affordable and will include 14 units for homeless veterans. This is the first large-scale use project for this developer, Julio Pateau. Petit Pateau is located behind the DIA and directly across from Peck Park in the historic art district of Midtown, which is a food desert, shopping desert, but has a lot of cultural and art activity. These plans include 6 buildings and 92 apartment units that are comprised of townhomes, 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, several work-live units, and 2 bedrooms with loft office space, and a mixture of condos, apartments, and a generous percentage of affordable units. In the heart of Midtown is Mid on Woodward, and this incorporates plans for a 225-room hotel, excuse me, approximately 80,000 square feet of retail space, hundreds of multifamily residences, affordable housing, co-living housing, and 60 condo units. The project offers alternatives for family and communal living, supported by eateries, entertainment, and public amenities. The developer of this project is working on another very creative, forward-thinking project because his inspiration is creating inclusive community spaces. The same co-developer on the Mid is taking on this historical rehab project. We haven't seen as many of those as we were seeing, and again, that might be because the cost of construction is so high. But the former Leland Hotel on Cass in the Central Business District will be transformed into 340 units of affordable and market rate rentals and 54,000 square feet of commercial space. The Village, this is a project in the Detroit neighborhood of West Village on the east side. It's a 96 unit mixed use project with retail on the main level, and it's currently under construction. There are also other projects planned in Corktown now that the Ford Innovative Campus is well underway. Activity will continue to spill over into the adjacent community of Core City, which is just behind Corktown. I'm also aware of another large housing project planned in the Boston area, Boston Edison area on the west side. The word for moving to industrial market, sorry. The leasing activity remains strong and there is much more demand than inventory. Amazon's plans to build 2 large distribution centers in Metro Detroit, and I heard yesterday, possibly in Canton, will create opportunities and need for smaller warehousing facilities. The new FCA plant will lead to more suppliers that will be servicing manufacturing and in need of facilities in that area. The Detroit metropolitan area will continue to see a boom in the sale of land for building of industrial warehouses and distribution centers. The area will also see a strong market for industrial investment sales. So the word for 2021 is, it truly should be optimism. Where there are casualties, there are also new opportunities. And there's a clear indication that the multifamily industrial markets will continue to improve throughout the rest of the year. Although retail and office may suffer, there will be an improvement as the economy continues to open again. In closing, I hope I've given you a clearer understanding of how the commercial markets have evolved under the pandemic. And I also hope that you can all appreciate that the only way is up from here. With the delivery of vaccines in process, the future certainly appears brighter. Thank you for joining us, and mentioned earlier, if you have specific questions or needs, please contact us. I believe my associate may have been able to register, Valerie Kemp. She's our Vice President of Commercial Brokerage, and she is also with us today. And this is our contact information. Thank you.
Ellen, thank you so much. The message of optimism that you've sent this morning is definitely music to all of our ears as we go forward in 2021.
As it should be.
Yeah. I'd now like to introduce our next speaker, Brad Wolf. He's president of Hall & Hunter Realtors. Brad is a graduate of Northwestern University and was employed by a local marketing firm before joining his family's real estate company, Hall & Hunter Realtors, as a sales agent in 1997. Over the past 21 years, Brad has served on the company's advisory board. He's developed an in-house advertising marketing department, introduced and implemented new technology, all while maintaining a position as a top producer. In the mid-2000s, Brad became active on the management team, assisting with various management tasks, including recruiting, retention, staffing, forecasting, and goal setting. Brad obtained his broker's license in 2010 and has most recently taken over the position as managing broker. Brad prides himself on growing the company while maintaining a culture with integrity. His innovative approach, combining technology and introduction of business coaching to the team, has proven to be inspirational and successful. A lifelong resident of Birmingham, Brad understands the importance of community and the support of the area in which he lives. Brad is presently chairman of the association and foundation boards of the Community House of Birmingham and has worked with Habitat of Humanity for Oakland County for over a decade. Brad?
Well, thanks, Kevin, for using up all my time with my intro. Too bad we won't have time for my real estate update. Thank you very much. That was a nice. We could have cut that in about a quarter, I suppose. Appreciate the intro. And Ellen, I was really hoping I was going to be able to go before you this morning, because I know how extremely knowledgeable and how highly detailed you are. So I appreciate your presentation, and it certainly was interesting to hear the differences of what commercial's doing and what residential's doing. I'm going to talk a little bit more about specifically residential. Real quickly, before we get into that, also wanted to thank Kelly and Joe for the opportunity. And guys, Joe, you mentioned that your hands are tied with doing these in-person events that you're so dependent on. And I'll tell you, your work is more important with the chamber now than ever, with what we've gone through the last year, and hearing from my friends and coworkers in other industries with retail and restaurant. And I know that's such a big part of your organization and running a chamber in a city like Birmingham and Bloomfield. So thank you for what you do, and certainly more than willing to help on my end too. So with that, let me, before I start boring you with some charts and numbers, I'll kind of tell you where we were about a year ago. Pre-pandemic, we were looking into 2020 as going to be one of our flagship years. We were expecting it. The numbers were suggesting with interest rates and demand to be one of the strongest years in that I can remember in our local real estate market. And so we were sailing along in January with low inventory, prices rising pretty quickly, and in high demand. And then all of this came to a halt, as you all know, and all felt. And we sat there twiddling our thumbs, thinking, how are we going to get these demanding buyers into these homes of sellers that certainly don't want people in their homes, and I can't blame them. So it was a challenging year. First quarter was a great year, or great quarter. Second quarter, which typically is our busiest quarter of the year, second quarter was dramatically down, just because of our hands are tied from even being able to show homes. Come May 7th, I believe, I remember the date, is when we were able to, with many guidelines, we were able to get buyers into homes again, with a lot of different guidelines from the state and the Michigan Association of Realtors. And that's really where it took off. From May 7th, we haven't looked back. It's been an extremely busy year. So let me go into some of these numbers talking about 2020, and I'll recap nationally, and then we'll get into locally in just a moment, and then I can give you an idea of what we're expecting going into 2021. Give me one moment. Let me see if I can share my screen here. Okay, does everyone see what I'm seeing, I hope? Okay, thanks, Ellen. I see you nodding. Okay, this first, I know it's tough to read. Be happy to email this off to all of you if you have any interest. But a couple interesting things here. This is from the National Association of Realtors, and as you look at a couple interesting points I want to point out is unemployment. You can see, oops, let me go up so we can see the years. Unemployment was rather low going into 2020. Last year at this time, rose dramatically, as we can all imagine, when the pandemic hit. But as you see going into the forecast, into the non-highlighted area, it starts to come back down. And so, you know, unemployment was certainly something that we're concerned about, and we're keeping an eye on, because truthfully, I don't feel that at least our industry has felt the shakedown of last year, and I feel that the unemployment that's felt by many of our industries probably hasn't affected us yet, and I think eventually it will, with affordability, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Next, I want to mention the obvious, interest rates. Everyone keeps hearing about how low interest rates are. Well, they are certainly lower than I could ever imagine they would be. And as you're going to see here in this report from NAR, they're going to eventually start climbing. But the good news is, and what surprises me, is that they're expecting even into 2022 interest rates to be about 3.5%, which again, for most of us who remember not too long ago, You know, 6-7% was a decent interest rate not too long ago. So 3.5% in 2022 is not all that bad. I think that'll be a big driver in our future market, is keeping these interest rates low, because I think it'll continue to keep the buyers out there. Housing indicators, under housing indicators, I wanted to point out the existing home sales. So you're going to see existing home sales is going to peak right, well, it did peak right around fourth quarter of 2020. And then you're going to start seeing it trail off. The good news is it's not a major trail off. There's predicting 2021 as to be a very strong year in comparison to years prior. So that's all good news. I don't have any reason to be concerned there, but I believe we have seen the peak when it comes to existing home sales, home sale numbers. And then let me go down towards the bottom here. Existing home sale prices. That's what I think probably most of you are wondering. And again, you're going to see the increase, the percentage of increase peak right about now, first quarter of 2021, as we're seeing the rate of increase peaking, and then it'll start to trail off a little bit. I shouldn't say a little bit. That's going to, looking into the future, I feel that's going to be the biggest change we're going to see is our rate of increase of median home prices stabilize dramatically over the next year. Okay, I'm going to keep moving along here just for the sake of time. Some of these numbers are going to be repetitive, but I'll point them out real quick. This is a report that I get from our local board, GMAR, Greater Metropolitan Association of Realtors, as well as RealComp, which is our MLS. I highlighted a few areas which I thought were interesting and tell a story. If we're looking at residential, not condominium, but single family homes, the highlighted area is going to show you the end of 2019 versus the end of 2020 was about a negative 16.5% change to new listings. That's inventory. Everyone keeps talking about low inventory. Inventory at the end of last year was down 16.5%. That's a big change. Because inventory was fairly sparse in 2019. So that's a big change. Pending sales, end of 2020 was up 2.2%. And then you can read through the median home sale price was up 11.9, double. I'm going to just say double digits. We're going to see a couple different numbers for the median sale price. But they all are showing a double-digit increase over 2019. Average sale price the same. So sale price up, inventory down, and again, it's a pretty simple equation. Supply and demand is what we deal with all day long. Here's some numbers that will be interesting to you. Quick facts. Again, this, and I failed to mention, these numbers are specific to southeastern Michigan. We're going to get into Oakland County in just a moment, and then maybe even nail down to Birmingham, Bloomfield. This is southeastern Michigan. Quick facts, up 21% closed sales from last year, from 2019 to 2020. They were up 21%. And this is including condominium and residential homes. Pending sales up 20% from 19 to 20, 2019 to 2020. Median home sale prices up 15%. And then new listings, you'll see up 4.9%. And you'll say, well, I thought inventory was down. The thing to remember and the thing to look at is if you're looking at a 21% increase in closed sales, Oh, shoot. I think I'm losing that. Let's go back here. Sorry, guys. One sec. Shit. I'm going to stop sharing. I'm going to go back. One sec, guys. Okay. Hang in there. Okay. Okay. I hope we're back. Okay, real quickly, you'll say, well, I thought inventory was down. Keep in mind that the closed sales and the pending sales were up 20%. Let's see, exit. So that'll suggest it's not keeping up with the inventory, the new listings. Okay, I'm going to keep moving along here. This is reiterating and drilling down a little closer for the numbers people out there. Again, showing new listings down 14%, pending sales up. You know, it's this common story that we keep hearing out there. Inventory is low, demand is up. Let's get into Oakland County. This is kind of get a little closer to home here. Oakland County numbers, some areas I didn't highlight here, but I will mention total sales in Oakland County specifically were up in 24.9% in 2020 over 2019. That's unheard of. We've never seen those numbers. Median sale price is up 14.2%. So if you remember, if you're looking at the national average, we were closer to 10 or 11%. Oakland County is doing much better than the national average out there. Average days on market. This is another one, down 24%. So average days on market in 2020 in December was averaging 31 days on market, which again is extremely low to what we're used to. And then lastly, on market listings down 45%. And this is Oakland County again. So we're looking at a few different numbers from what we just spoke about, but down 45%. So again, back to that inventory shortage. And then this was an interesting, again, this is Oakland County. If you look at the graph on the right side here, talks about homes for sale and closed sales. The medium blue bar is 2018, dark blue is 2019, and then the furthest right, light blue, is 2020. You can see the trend there. Homes for sale drastically down, closed sales drastically up. So I can't stress enough how low our inventory is out there. Okay, and then lastly, before I put you all to sleep here, Birmingham and Bloomfield numbers. So Birmingham, you're going to see new listings are up 3%. But again, remember, if you look further, pending sales are up 41%. So again, that's suggesting a much shortage in inventory. Closed sales are up 56%. Median sale price is up 52%. Now keep in mind, this is for fourth quarter of 2020, which I'm going to get into in just a moment, because for fourth quarter in 2020 made up for quite a bit of the year that we lost in 2020. Further down, you can read the Bloomfields, similar numbers, inventory's way down, pending sales are up, median home sale prices are up. And then lastly, this will kind of give you an idea of where the homes for sale sales are. Bloomfield Hills, drastically down from a year ago. These are number of homes that are on the market in Bloomfield. Bloomfield Township, number of homes for sale are drastically down. And then lastly, Birmingham, same numbers that we're drastically down in numbers. So those are the numbers that I look at on a regular basis. And where does that put us today? What does that mean for our forecast? This is what I'm hearing out there. We've talked about low inventory. I believe with the pandemic, with the vaccines out there, we're going to see more and more people feeling more comfortable putting their homes on the market. So I believe our inventory will increase, which will help stabilize the prices somewhat, because I also feel that with the inventory so low and the multiple offer situations, that these prices are climbing at a rate where I feel that some will kick some of these buyers out of the market. I feel affordability is going to be our biggest challenge moving forward. So what I'm forecasting into 2021 is inventory climbing slightly, which it needs to. That's a good thing. Prices will continue to increase. We'll probably, with more inventory, we're going to see less and less multiple offers, and it'll be it won't be so drastically a seller's market, but I think it'll continue to be a decent market, real estate market, and a decent market for sellers all the way through 2021. 2022, I feel, is when we're going to start seeing that pendulum swing back slightly towards the buyers. With home prices somewhat stabilizing, not climbing as fast. We probably won't see double-digit appreciation in 2022. We may see it in 2021, but I feel with the interest rates climbing slightly, the inventory climbing slightly, prices will somewhat stabilize a little bit. Not a bad thing. This is stabilization. I feel is not a bad thing. I feel that with this inventory being so low, I do worry that some of these prices have artificially grown at a rate that may not be sustainable. So not a bad thing. What's hot out there? What in our local market? What are buyers looking for? What we found, and this is pre-pandemic too. What we found is people are more drawn to more of the urban areas, more of the downtown areas where size of yard is less important to some of these buyers as it was 10 or 15 years ago. Amenities and homes that are completely renovated are important to people, but generally speaking, I think a lot of buyers out there today are looking for homes that don't need a lot of attention, because I think people have less time nowadays. I think people are spending less time fixing up their home and more time at work, unfortunately. So that's what's hot right now is downtown livings. We need more condominium living. Baby boomers that are selling their 4 or 5 bedroom homes and downsizing are having trouble finding space that they can walk to town and live at a reasonable price, I should say, because a lot of the stuff in Birmingham is outside their price range. So that's what's hot. I'm trying to move along here. I'm sure we'll get to some questions. With that, I mentioned this earlier to Joe. I just want to mention that from being a part of the real estate industry, I feel we've been very, very fortunate throughout the pandemic, the times, talking to our friends in the restaurant and retail business. We count our blessings every day, and we are feeling awfully confident and fortunate looking at the immediate future. So with that, Kevin, I appreciate the time, and I'll turn it back over to you and be happy to answer any questions.
Great. Thank you very much, Brad. We can only imagine what you went through, and you and the rest of the real estate residential community last March when things shut down. I just, what do you do when you're trying to sell your home or help a client sell their home? Just unbelievable thing that you lived through. And we congratulate you for making it to the other side, and we'll see where we go from here. So the first question goes to either Brad or Ellen. It's from Tom Delusen from Chief Credit Union. So Tom asks, once the moratorium on foreclosures ends, do you see a major effect on the market due to the potential sharp increase of distressed real estate inventory coming into the market? So when you have a moratorium on evictions lift, suddenly we know there's going to be a lot of unfortunate activity in that space. So the question is, do you expect that to lead to distressed properties coming on the market?
Ellen, go ahead if you.
Oh, I love this.
I figured you.
No, I mean, I'm not involved in obviously residential much anymore, but I thought that there was a new Biden moratorium on foreclosures, which also provided some forbearance opportunities. So that I think if that's true, what I just Googled, we may be okay, because people who are not, it's the evictions has been for renters and has helped, sustain the multifamily markets from really hemorrhaging. But in terms of home ownership and people not paying their mortgage, I think there's some activity going on from our government that will help support a less of a strain on distressed properties, and that hopefully with the vaccine, as people get reemployed, because right now there's such a shortage of workers, it's crazy, nobody can hire. And I think we'll see a flood in the markets, hopefully, of employment by the time those two intersect.
Great, thank you, Ellen. Next question is for Brad. So Brad, do you see a lifting of people's tension around having people in their homes? Have you noticed a shift back, not to normal, but closer to normal in the last several months?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think that's going to be the biggest driver to correct our inventory problem is these sellers feeling more comfortable. We have seen it, to answer your question.
Sure. And I expect that a lot of folks say, you know what, it's nice to see a virtual tour, but it's not the same as, right? It's not the same as walking up the stairs, et cetera, right?
Yeah, very true. We did that for about a month or so. We got real savvy into filming and FaceTiming and working digitally using technology, and it worked. But you're absolutely right, Kevin. What had happened is that the buyers were writing offers on homes, we could say sight unseen, but they had seen it in the video, and then they would use the inspection period to get into the home and really feel it. And so we had a lot of deals flipping at the inspection because of the fact they've never been in the home. So yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's the extent of the chat questions. If anybody else has a question, feel free to go ahead and ask it right now. We'll give it 30 seconds here.
Hey, Kevin, it's Joe. We actually do have one other that you may have missed.
Oh, I'm sorry, Joe. It just popped up. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
Okay, there was a little delay there. So the next question is from Bruce Bloomingdale, and Bruce asks, hi, Brad and Ellen, are you seeing more people moving to or back to the area? I believe over the past few years, the general trend has been more people leaving the area than coming to the area.
Ellen, you might have a good handle on this. I'd be happy to.
In terms of multifamily, one of the significant problems actually in Midtown Detroit is that since the universities are virtual, the students have left that area. Plus, it's as you know, all the restaurants and clubs are closed. So the kids aren't that anxious to stay on campus, and they've moved back home. So that area there's been strain there, and I'm sure other, cities with campuses in their urban areas have also, but yeah, I think people are moving where they want to be right now. I have a kid who's employed by the New York courts in Manhattan and is living in San Diego. I have one attending Georgetown Law that's living in Mount Pleasant. And I have one down in Chicago that is living on Lakeshore, attending his last year at DePaul. So it's wherever you want.
Where, yeah, you could work and live wherever. You bring up a good point. We have a relocation department within the office, and we're not seeing a major change in incoming and outgoing referrals. But then again, we certainly do a lot of the business with the hospitals, so they're still moving healthcare workers in and out of the state. So.
Excellent. Thank you. We do have one more question here from Vincent Gotko. Vincent asks for Ellen, are any of the developments that you mentioned in your presentation taking place in opportunity zones? And have you seen a flow of capital and development in opportunity zones?
So yes, a lot of them are, and some of them aren't. But I will say that a lot of the development activity I'm seeing in the Central Business District in Midtown does not necessarily, they're not looking for opportunity zones specifically, but I have represented, I have some property over on the east side and the Jefferson corridor and places like that where, yes, they're flocking, looking specifically for opportunity zones, as well as in Milwaukee Junction area, Jefferson Chalmers. I had, you get developers coming from out of state who are representing some large opportunity zone funds, and that's definitely a big driver for them.
Excellent, thank you. Okay, so if anybody else has any questions, we'll give another few seconds here, and then we'll turn it over to Joe to wrap us up this morning.
I just want to mention, Kevin, I used to be at Clark, Klein and Beaumont years ago, and then we broke off, and I was with Dada Mann.
Right.
My last position. So it's kind of interesting, the two main sponsors of the program today.
You bet. You've got a lot of history with our predecessors, right?
Yes, I do. We won't say how far along back it goes, but it goes, yeah.
Great, excellent.
Can I just ask a question? I'm not typing fast enough before this ends. This is probably for Brad, I think. In Birmingham, they're talking about potentially changing the zoning in the seams, along Brown Street, I think, and Lincoln and so on. Do you think that's going to move forward? And then what is that going to do to, prices of homes, whether it's in those seams or in general, with a little bit lower, potentially lower housing prices in there?
Yeah, it's a good question. And I'm not as prepared as I wanted to be, because I figured that question would come up. I honestly do not know one way or another which way it's going to go. But to answer your question, there's a lot of opinions about it out there, and a lot of strong opinions, I should say, about it out there. And so usually with strong position, people with strong positions typically suggest that it will affect probably some real estate values close and around the areas that they're specifically talking about. But I have to read up on it further, to be honest with you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have one more question in the chat. It's for Ellen. Ellen, what do you hear about RH residential housing coming to Birmingham?
No, it's not residential housing, it's restoration hardware.
Oh,
No.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I was thrown as well. I hadn't heard
Okay.
that. Do you know where they're trying to move in? Is it maybe the Panera? I don't know.
I don't believe so. You're what they refer to as their legacy showrooms, like the one that was at the mall, are generally 4,000 to 6,000 square feet, and the ones like in New York and Chicago are 40,000 to 60,000. And I don't think the Panera Corner, even though Boji has been acquiring adjacent properties, can handle that kind of footprint. But there was a board vote in the fall of 2020 by Restoration Hardware's corporate board that yes, we're still going to pursue Birmingham, Michigan.
I think it'd be a great addition to the community, but I'm afraid I don't
Okay.
have any firsthand knowledge.
David, weren't they were originally going in next to Fleming's there where they were going to remove that parking structure, I thought, and that got turned down, is what I understood. But this is going back at least a year plus. So I haven't
Right.
heard.
That was because of the vote.
Yeah.
They had to take a walk. They are, I'm told, currently looking at 3 sites.
Okay.
One possibly near your office. But I was just kind of, as a news hound, just trying to figure out what Ellen maybe has heard.
No,
So-
but I think I'll reach out to them because I'm sure I could get them into Detroit possibly.
They don't want Detroit.
Well, is it? Yeah, okay.
They actually want to be in a small downtown.
Oh, okay.
Which is interesting, David, that this whole shift in retail, and Ellen had mentioned on one of her slides about malls, the repurposing of malls is going to be a huge issue for the next several years. My recollection of my notes from your slide here, Ellen, were that hotels, senior living, multifamily, medical, and office, that's a serious repurpose of a lot of these a lot of these mall properties. That's going to be a big issue for the next several years.
All right, well, we've come near to the end of our time. I want to thank Kevin and Mike and Ellen and Brad for great presentations. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks for listening.
Before we let you go, I do want to mention a couple of things. First and foremost, we had great participation on our call this morning, but if you have coworkers, colleagues, clients who you feel would benefit from hearing this morning's presentation, we will be posting it on our YouTube channel, probably by the end of the week, and people can watch it. And then we'll also be sending out a direct link to that as well that you can share to your centers of influence. So again, thank you so much. Kelly, I think is going to take a couple seconds just to talk about a couple of our upcoming events. Kelly.
Yes, I hope you'll join us the end of this month. We have a online coffee break. And then starting in April, we're going to be shifting to in-person member coffees. So those will be outdoors, socially distanced, face covering is required. And we have some of those booked through September, but we do need a couple of host locations. So if you have an outdoor space at your office or building and you would like to host, please let me know. We're also looking at starting a web series in April called Ask the Expert, and we hope to launch that soon. And we're in the works of doing a legislative forum online. So stay tuned to our website and social media accounts for that information. And I'll turn it back to Joe. Thank you.
Thanks, Kelly. And lastly, for those of you who may be new to attending a chamber event, we always like somebody to leave with something they didn't come with. So we do have a giveaway, a little drawing this morning, compliments of one of our sponsors, Comcast Business. And it is, how apropos, a combination cell phone charging and sanitizing station to make sure that we keep all of our equipment clean and sanitized and COVID-free. So thank you. We don't have the ability to pull business cards like we normally do. So off camera, we'll be conducting a random drawing of those who have registered for this morning, and we will let the lucky person know that they won and make arrangements for it to be either delivered to your office or picked up. So again, I want to thank everybody for taking time this morning, especially, like I said, our speakers, our sponsors, and our guests. Really great information. We will also make the presentations available if anybody wants to get a copy of the slides for their own use. So thanks again, and hopefully we'll see you all soon. Take care.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.